Boom, boom, boom. Showtime. Those check marks, you're getting quicker and quicker on those check marks, Tom, or
Well,
does it
not today.
happen
Usually I
automatically?
am, but today I've for some reason fumbled it around like I've got a bunch of thumbs instead of fingers. So there they are.
Technology. I
Yeah,
thought I
well,
was really boosting up going from an iPhone 8 to an iPhone 14, and somehow here we are, trying to click buttons and make
yep.
this show happen. What's up, Broncos country? It's Wednesday night in the Mile High City. It's Wednesday night in Broncos country all over the world, which means it's time for MHI Mile High Insiders. He is Thomas Hall. I am Luke Patterson. And Tom, we've got a great show lined up. We got to do something pretty cool yesterday. But before we get into it, how's it going, buddy? How you doing?
It's good, man. It's going great. It's right in the summer, middle of the summer. It's hot, but that's all right. I enjoy the heat because I don't like the winter. That's why we moved out of the cold weather areas. So yeah, no, it's going good. I'm excited. I'm excited about. I don't want to jump into too fast, but Hall of Fame just came out with their semifinal. I'm
Ooh.
surprised. I'm a little surprised, man. It's good. It's good. We'll talk about that. How are you doing?
Mm. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good talking about the weather and talking about the heat. And my guy Dylan Von Arks, he's got some heat going on right now over at milehighhuddle.com. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com where you can read Dylan's latest piece, where Dylan's basically examining the AFC West and trying to figure out what each team's Achilles tendon is.
Ah,
Rather, trying to figure out how to get over on the Chargers, how to get over on the Chiefs and the Raiders. It's a really good article. I'm super, super pumped to plug it because Dylan's always throwing so much great work and support. We really, really appreciate it. And speaking of that heat, man, I am a little nervous now because it has been just hotter than wolf urine here in the Mile High City. And it's making me realize that the July training camp right around the corner into August, it's going to be
yep.
brutal out there on the berm, man. It's not for the faint of heart. The Broncos do a great job throwing misters and water and sunscreen at everybody, but hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Probably not something you want to come to hungover.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, and if there's any indication of how hot it's going to be based on how hot it's been this week, man, it is going to be rough out there. Bring
Brutal.
plenty of water.
Brutal. Heath Holmes, I wanted to get to Heath, man. Heath was in here just like our guy Dylan before the show even started, man. And I always appreciate that. Hello, Luke and Thomas. What are your interception / takeaway predictions for our Denver defense in 2023? I'm looking forward to the show. Heath, that's an outstanding question. I'm so glad you asked. Before I get to Thomas's prediction, I'm just going to say I looked it up. In 2022, 14 interceptions was the total for the Broncos. Surprise, surprise, Justin Simmons leading that with 6 picks. Justin Simmons going to be a huge part of this show tonight, talking
Yes.
about the interview that we got to react to yesterday, man. And we're going to react to some of those things that Justin said that we haven't even put out there yet. Tom has a great article up right now over at milehighhuddle.com, just giving you a glimpse at what that interview of Justin Simmons was like yesterday. But we're going to get into that and more here with the show. I think it's going to be over 14. Heath, I really do. Why? Because Pat Surtain is the best cornerback in the NFL. While some quarterbacks are not going to throw at Pat Surtain's side of the field or wherever that man is at, others are going to test him. Championship quarterbacks are going to test him, like a Pat Mahomes. These guys are fearless and they're going to come after a Pat Surtain. And guess what, folks? Pat Surtain's going to get beat. Every player in the NFL gets beat. It doesn't mean that he's a washout. It doesn't mean that Devontae Adams is always going to have something on him. It's just the fact of life and the fact of football. But if I'm betting on it, man, I'm putting it at 20. I'm going 20 interceptions. I'm looking for a ball hawk type defense under Vance Joseph.
Yeah, I'm with you because they have to, right? That's been the problem with their defense the last couple seasons, really, is they have not taken the ball away enough. They have not given their offense enough extra opportunities. And that's part of the reason. There's plenty of reasons, but that is a part of the reason why they haven't had great success. You give the offense more opportunities, you're going to score more. But I'm going to be optimistic. I know that I've tried to be,
20, 20. I'm saying 20. That's pretty damn optimistic,
Yeah,
Tom, from Mr.
that's yeah.
Negativity over here. I mean, going from 14 to 20.
Yep.
Obviously, we got to think about availability and stuff like that. But I mean,
Sure.
are you going to go over 20, Tom? I mean,
On interceptions, no. I think they're going to have to get to between 30 and 35 takeaways in total, right?
hedging
And
his, hedging
probably
his bet,
20
folks.
interceptions.
He's hedging his. All right. All right.
So you got to get
20, man. So we're
yeah, you know
spot
what? I'm going
on.
to go with above 20. I'm going to go with 20, 23 interceptions. And the reason why I'm saying this is
It's because you want to prove me wrong. Go ahead.
No,
Say it.
no.
You want to embarrass me in front of my friends here on MHI, and you probably will.
No. The reason why I'm saying it is because last year was tons of injuries, right? You had Kwan Williams with a cast on his hand almost the whole season. So it's pretty tough to take the ball away with that. You got Damari Mathis is coming into his second year, showed a lot of promise. I think he's going to be even better than people might think because of his ascension from that first year. And
Agreed.
I think, Justin Simmons has continued to get more takeaways every season, pretty much, or, he would have gotten more this last year had he not gotten hurt, probably. And then I think Caden Stearns is going to kind of take over that starting role. And he, as we saw as a rookie, he was opportunistic in his limited chances. I think he had two interceptions that were very important to the team in his rookie season. So that's why I'm optimistic. Now, I'm a little less optimistic that Vance Joseph, his defensive style is going to get that there.
Easy.
You know what I mean?
Easy. Easy. I'm going to push back against that. Justin Simmons, you asked Justin directly on these very podcast airways representing MHI. That's right. The Mile High Insiders every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. where, I don't know, we get these opportunities to either go on the #1 radio show in Denver and co-host, or interview Justin Simmons for a second year in a row, or have Carl Mecklenburg on your other show. I mean, these things happen with us, and we want to share this content with you. So Broncos country, I'm pushing back against Tom right now with the Vance Joseph. I got to see it first. Justin Simmons was very, very complimentary, as everyone would think he would be, a Vance Joseph, but we're going to get into that. And I want to let you read some of the quotes that Justin answered your very question about Vance Joseph, and we'll get into that here in a bit. But before we do, Troy, our guy, Troy, man, also another huge supporter of the show, in before everybody else. Can't thank you enough, man. Hey guys, have a great show. I'm going to listen later. If second-year players step up, this should be a very good defense. I agree. Second-year players have to step up. Who we talking about? First player that comes to mind is Nick Bonito. Nick Bonito was MIA last year, did not have, injuries aside and role playing aside and being a rookie. Just, you got to put out. I mean, you're a second-round draft pick. That's a premium pick, a premium player. It's got George Payton's fingerprints all over it before Sean Payton was even here. Yep. Nick Bonito's got to work out. You already talked about Damari Mathis. Greg Dulcich is another one for me. Expect a good year from Greg Dulcich. I don't think he's going to be Travis Kelce. There's some people out there all falling over themselves that Greg Dulcich is going to be the next Travis Kelce in the NFL, and you're going to win multiple Super Bowls. My good friend Nick Kendall liked to argue this with me over and over again about Russell Wilson's utilization of the tight ends. What do we know about Sean Payton? Sean Payton utilizes his tight ends in more than just the running game. So those are just a couple players for me, Greg Dulcich and Nick Bonito.
I'll tell you the one that has to step up, or one of two that have to step up, second-year players, Uwazurike, Henningsen, because they are thin on that rotation. I know they went out and got Tyler Lancaster. I don't know how great he's going to be coming back from that injury that he sustained, missed all of 2022.
Wasn't Matt Henningsen 2021?
No, they were both selected last year. Henningsen, 6th rounder, Uwazurike, a 4th rounder. One or both of those have to step up due to necessity, because they didn't go out and get that kind of really solid rotational player. Lancaster's has been pretty good. Don't get me wrong. He's been a solid rotational piece when he was with the Packers, but he missed 2022 from an injury. I don't know how, where he fits in. I'm not really sure, but I'll tell you, those, to me, one of those two have to step up. They have to, or their rotation's going to be, if they don't, they're going to be looking for a veteran to pick up for sure.
Speaking of veterans, our guy Gary Leeds Palmer, a veteran of this show, a friend, a huge supporter on that Mount Rushmore, as Chad likes to say, saying Hey, Luke, Thomas, and Dylan, I'm looking forward to your take on the Justin Simmons interview. I thought it was great. Denver Broncos for life. Hashtag Buckham. If you guys want to see that Justin Simmons interview, Gary specifically is shouting out, head on over to Tom's Twitter right away at Thomas Hall NFL. You can go ahead and see that at Mile High Huddle as well, milehighhuddle.com. Tom's got an article referencing that interview up right now. Again, it was presented by USAA and their sponsorship with Denver Fire Department with regards to wildland fire and some really cool information too that folks should realize and folks should talk about. I have a fire department background. I used to be a firefighter. My old man's a chief. I've got tons of friends in the fire service, and it's important in these dry months that we, like Justin Simmons talked about yesterday. I mean, have a plan, have an emergency prepared kit, talk to your family, make these sorts of things a priority, even if you're not in a fire zone, right? We've got Broncos country all over the world, somewhere where it's rainy right now, saying, the fire's not going to happen to me. No, but natural disasters still can strike. Always try to be prepared, try to be preventative rather than reactive. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. Lawrence Rivera, what's up, Lawrence? I see you traveling, man. I'm glad you made it back to your family safe and sound. What's up with the Wednesday guys? And I like that. Maybe we need to start like a Wednesday guys thing, or some sort of play on the word. I like that, Lawrence. Lawrence, I hope we get to see you at training camp this year, man. And Broncos country, we're going to be out there. MHI, Thomas and I both are going to be out year 2, August 1st through the 4th, or even the 5th. Come say hello if you got a ticket out there for training camp. Again, things are a little different this year. Make sure you have that ticket before you come on out to see Thomas and I and say hello.
Yeah, definitely say hello. And they've already posted some several legends from the past that are coming in to be there to greet fans and stuff. That I already saw Jake Plummer and Eddie Max coming in. They're coming in to greet fans and say hi. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So yeah,
Jake
thanks
Plummer,
for the Facebook stars on that there, Lawrence. Really appreciate it. But yeah, come by and say hi.
Yeah, man. Come by and say hi. I'm fascinated by who's around that training camp, Thomas. And I mean, I'm not just saying it to try to get you out there. It's not a sales pitch, right? It's free. And if somebody's scalping Broncos tickets, DM me because I'm going to put them on blast. That's horrible. Things are being run a little different this year, and that's okay. You could still come on out to training camp. I think there's still some availability on some of those dates. So head on over to the Denver Broncos team website and you could find more information. Before we get anywhere, I got to get to our guy, David, man. Our guy, David, an absolute dog coming in here with some support. And David's always showing up and showing out every Wednesday night for Broncos country, specifically this show, MHI. And these super chats and Facebook stars that you guys are able to donate really help us keep the lights on, especially in the off season right now. Some people refer to this as the dead season. We're still grinding away. Thomas is grinding away. I'm grinding away. We've got folks grinding away over at milehighhuddle.com. David weighing in saying, good evening, Broncos country. Luke, Thomas, Dylan, Deacon Scott. Hashtag 16 days. Buckham, MHH for life, Denver Broncos for life. And yeah, man, David, I think about you sometimes because of your countdown. Right, David's got the countdown to camp, just like Broncos country should. And do you do countdowns, Tom? Because we do in my house. I'm a child that way, and I need to have countdowns because I'm impatient. So, like for example, we're going on vacation Labor Day weekend, right? I've got countdowns for that. Even my little girl's got her birthday coming up. We've got a countdown for that on the big chalkboard where the menu should be in the kitchen. And it's just one of these things, man, where I absolutely love it. You get to check one day off the calendar and you're that much closer to football.
Yeah, we do it a little bit. We'll have my wife will create like a chain link of paper and you pull one off every day, until you get down to the last link. And then the next day is the day, kind of thing. So yeah, we do it a little bit.
You like it too. You like childish things just like me. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. I mean, I like seeing it happen. It's nice. I'm not myself. I don't have like a countdown of, I don't cross days off a calendar or anything, but it's fun to watch.
Not only, well, don't take a shot at me like that. I don't cross days off calendar or anything like that. Can you believe this guy? Not only do I cross days off of a calendar, I have my little Marvel Comics daily calendar too. So I've got the calendar on the wall that's filled up, then I've got the daily nerd thing here too. I absolutely love it. David, thanks so much, man. That countdown is cool because again, we want to see everybody out there. Broncos country, wear your orange and blue. Come on out, wear your MHH gear too. I want to see some MHI shirts, MHI hats. It's always cool getting to see folks with that. Head on over to mhhmerch.com and get your swag on. Grab yourself something nice for training camp and rep that gear. Michael Ronquillo, our guy coming in from AZ. We're talking about it's hot in New Mexico. It's hot in Colorado. Man, Michael's looking at us like, you guys need to toughen up, Buttercup.
Yep.
Good evening, Thomas and Luke on the Mile High Insiders. Go Broncos and buck them. And Mike is an absolutely wonderful example of that mission statement here at Mile High Huddle, that Broncos country is not a geographical location. It is a state of being. And Broncos country, as we're going to continue to talk about, man, they rep Arizona so hard. And this is where Tom's going to come in and say, I'm considering getting tickets to the Cardinals game, the pre-sale, just like the rest of Broncos country, right? Whenever the Broncos play the Cardinals, and Mike, let us know if you're going to go to that. I feel like there's so much orange in Arizona all over.
Yep. No, I am considering the preseason game still, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'd like to. We'll see. But I'll tell you, it was Tucson was trending on Twitter the other day because it was so hot. And I was thinking about Michael out there, I think it was 114, one thermometer set on
114
yeah, it was hot.
degrees.
Yeah. So
Mike,
yeah, I thought
do you work
about
inside?
Michael. What's that?
I'm asking Michael, I'm like, Mike, get at us, man. I hope you're working inside, because if you're working outside, then you're a beast. You're an absolute savage. You know, like I don't think I could do it, man. It's in the high 90s here in the Mile High City, and I'm sitting here like, oh, this is gnarly. But no, Michael, man, he's been a huge supporter of the show, a personal friend. Can't wait to see everybody like Mike at training camp, man. People are so happy. Mike's just one of the most enthusiastic people that we know. He's always got so much love. He never has a bad thing to say about anybody. And I salute you, Michael. Thank you so much for all of your support. And look at this guy coming in here, KB, one of our very own, and he'll always be one of our own. I see you, KB, even though you didn't take me to a Nuggets game. $1.99 super coming in. Who's the biggest hitter on this roster? That's a fantastic question for me.
I love it.
It's a weird one. Maybe it'll surprise you. I'm going to go Alex Singleton. I think Alex Singleton can knock the snot out of some people. I've seen it. You've seen it. Yeah. He does it under the radar. He's an under the radar, overproductive linebacker in this league. And I'm excited to see him play, especially now knowing that he could calm down just a little bit. He's got a future with this team.
Yeah. I'm with you. He's an underrated player. I want to see him make some more impactful plays this year instead of just tackles, but definitely like him. I'm going to go with two. First one, we know that Kareem Jackson, for his size, pound for pound, can really lay the wood, but he's getting a little long in the tooth. If JL Skinner makes the team, if he's on the roster,
he's making the team. I'm telling you,
he is going to lay some wood, man. That guy, he comes at you pretty angry. So
I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I was right there at practice, man, and he jaws with them too. I mean, like, I get it, Broncos country. It's a bad look when you come in here and you don't know who Steve Atwater is. But you know what? Excuse me all to hell. This guy is so much younger than all of us too. I mean, this is a whole new generation of guys. Even sometimes the guys are like, I used to watch that GOAT quarterback play. No, you didn't. You were like 2 years old when that happened. You're trying to say the right things, but I appreciate the guy's honesty at least, right? At least he's not coming up there looking like an ass saying, oh yeah, I love Steve Atwater. He was the best running back ever. You know, like, it wouldn't make any sense. Right. So I'm not going to eat his lunch for that. I think that this could potentially be a player that makes this team, and a veteran guy is cut at the same position. I'm not saying I'm not going to call players out, but it happens every year. Sometimes by hook or by crook, injury. I mean, crazy things have happened, but no, KB, that's a great question. And it kind of bothers me, I guess, Thomas, that our answers don't end up with a pass rusher or defensive line. I mean, that's an area of concern. Like, one of your hardest hitting players should be one of those at that position. But Kareem Jackson, the friendly fire for me is just, that's why I wanted to move on from K-Jack, in all honesty. He is getting a little bit out there, but it's the freelancing for me. I mean, Kareem Jackson should be well respected. He's an underrated player as well. But I think sometimes he takes a lot of veteran luxuries and he's cowboying a lot out there. And it puts other guys like a Justin Simmons in a gnarly position, or a Pat Surtain, or any of the other Broncos defenders. So while I can appreciate Kareem Jackson, I don't need to see him friendly firing anybody like he did AJ Bouye like 3 years ago. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? He it looked
Yeah.
like he broke the poor guy's jaw. It knocked him right out of the game. I think they both ended up with concussions. I mean, you cannot play like that anymore in this league. One, because you're going to get fined, and then you're going to get suspended, but then you're killing your guys, man.
Yeah.
To lose one player is bad enough, but to lose 2 or 3 due to friendly fire, man, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I got William Contalano saying in the chat here. I'm going to bring it up, which is bringing back old school. Whoops. Yeah, I think you got it. Sorry. I think we're clicking on the same thing. It says, now I'll never forget our first Super Bowl when Atwater hit so hard he knocked himself out and 2 other dudes. I remember that. It was it was an amazing but scaring play at the same time. But I got another one that in this
crossing route, right?
Yeah, in this long line.
I was going to say
long line of hard-hitting safeties.
Thurman
Thomas talked about how half his body went numb after a hit from Dennis Smith. Can you imagine getting hit so hard that half your body goes numb? I can't. I mean, I've been hit plenty of times, and that would be pretty scary for me. But long line of fearsome hitters in the Broncos safety position. That's for sure.
Everybody thinks of the Nigerian Nightmare, right? And that hit. Smiling Assassin versus the Nigerian Nightmare. That story wrote itself before the game was even played. I mean, that's just one of those historic moments. And you know what? That's what I want if my wife and daughter are listening, like for birthday or Father's Day gift. How about that moment framed in a black and white picture? Like, how about that on the wall for Broncos country? Because that would be dope. I would absolutely want that. I try to limit my Broncos stuff, Tom, as you know. I try to be as objective as I can, just like you. And that's the whole goal, really, with this show, specifically MHI. And that's how we try to drive this show. Of course, we've got love for our team, right? There I go saying it. But you're not going to catch me in Broncos gear. I just don't feel like that's right. To those who want to go for it, but I feel like when you're kind of getting in a profession in which you're paid to be objective, you need to somehow demonstrate that. But that picture I would frame and put in the backdrop right now, just because Steve Atwater was an absolute dog. And I want to speaking of absolute dogs, I asked, he answered. Mike's been working almost 19 years out there at Walmart, man, slaving away in the hot weather outside. His goal is to get to 20 years, almost there. Huge shout out, man. That's a huge milestone to be a year at anywhere is a long time, whether that be in a relationship, at a job, in school. I mean, 19, 20 years, that deserves a huge shout out, Michael. So 20 years getting up, man, and grinding. And there's something to be said for that. And a lot of people don't, guys. And I'm not one of those people that says we should just be positive for positive sake, but if all you did was show up to work today, if all you did was show up to school today, great job, because 1,000 other people didn't do that, man, and are just sitting out there waiting for a handout. So we recognize other success on this show. Huge shout out to Michael Rinchio.
Yeah, and to do it in the heat too, man. I grew up in the heat on a ranch working outside, and every time I think about, man, I really want an outside job, instead of my cushy office job, I then go, you know what? I remember those days out there in the heat or the cold or whatever, and now I think I'm doing fine.
100%. I remember calling my dad and complaining, and my mom too. I was in my 20s about a horrible job that I had, and I finally left that job and gave him the same phone call. I get to leave this job, and before my dad or mom even said congratulations, they just said, please remember this moment and how much you hated this job when there are other hard moments in your new job, because there are going to be those moments. They're going to be a little different in a new setting, but that's very fair, and it's a good point, and try to keep things in perspective, man. And Greg coming in here, are you all healed up from your motorcycle accident? Yeah, man, I'm healed up. The arm's feeling good. Not back on the bike just yet. I've been so damn busy, and I need to tweak it just a little bit, but I'm good to go, man. I hope all is well with you and your family. I know you and yours have recently lost your mom, so huge shout out to Greg Smith. Thoughts and prayers as well. But guys, again, this is MHI. He's Thomas Hall. Get at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. The mothership on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. Please subscribe, like, and share on all platforms. Leave us a review wherever you get these podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch. We're all over the place, and we take those reviews seriously. We want to improve. We want to get better, but we are super excited to continue our announcement that Thomas and I are both going to be out there August 1st through the 4th at Broncos training camp. We want to see all of you guys there. Come say hello and watch practice with us. And I'll be out there every single day, out there grinding away in the heat, just like Michael out there in Arizona, man. It's fun. I joke when I say I'm worried about the heat. It's worth it. It's so worth it to go watch football. And I was talking to a good friend today, Thomas, and I said, do you realize since I've been covering this professionally, and this being the Denver Broncos in the NFL, I've never seen a good training camp? And they kind of looked at me and they're like, you know what? Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that. And I asked, what's that like? Another member of the media, I'm like, what's that like, man? What's a good training camp look like? I think we're going to see that this summer.
I agree. I think we are. We better. I mean, there's a mile high expectations on Sean Payton and what he's going to do for this team, and it starts in training camp. And I've been talking about 4 keys that you got to look for, and if I'm not seeing that out there, I'm going to be kind of disappointed, right? Like I want to see that happening. I want to see that kind of come to fruition in this training camp because it's going to give me a lot of hope for the regular season. When they're out there sweating and busting their butts in that heat, and they're still getting quality reps when they're tired, that when the game is on the line in the regular season, someone's going to come up and make a big play instead of, people off, I got to go get water instead. And, not really getting those quality reps. So that's what I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah, well, and let's get into it. I mean, had a chance to sit down with Justin Simmons. You asked him yesterday, point blank, what's it been like working with Sean Payton? And for me, when Justin said he understands the expectations, I got goosebumps because I'm like, that's a defensive guy buying into an offensive guy, if you will, a head coach. I mean, this guy's commanding the whole team. What did you make of Justin Simmons' response when you asked him about Sean Payton?
Well, it was, it was one of those things that I expected, right? I really expected what he was going to say because Sean Payton's been there before, right? And it didn't feel. I mean, Justin Simmons is a great guy to interview. He tells you, what's on his mind. He doesn't. I don't feel like he gives a canned response or anything. So, but it didn't feel like he was like overexcited or over. Selling it because it's Sean Payton, right? He's got experience. So it seemed genuine. Like he's out there expecting more from this training camp and from Sean Payton at this training camp. So, it wasn't a huge surprise, but it definitely made me feel better about this upcoming camp and what it's going to look like.
Yeah, so he said, quote, this is Justin Simmons on Sean Payton. I know that OTAs were competitive and it was fun. Obviously, we didn't have pads on, so I know training camp's going to be a little bit more physical, just like it always is. But I know that Coach Sean Payton knows what he's doing. He's done it for a long time. He's been super successful at what he does. So us players, as far as us players go, we just have to buy in and trust the process of knowing that whatever we're doing, there's success at the end of the tunnel. And again, you can read more about Justin Simmons' interview with Tom over on Twitter at Thomas Hall NFL. The plug to the articles there. It's out at milehighhuddle.com as well. And you can actually watch the video too at either one of those platforms. But no, super exciting, man, to hear a defensive guy be excited and buying in to this whole thing. It was a really cool opportunity. Anytime you get to talk to a Denver Bronco, it's a good day, right? But a guy like Justin Simmons, man, who's been absolutely wonderful. Just a little personal story for Justin Simmons with me, man. It was my very first Broncos training camp. Actually, it was my last Broncos training camp as a fan. And I took my daughter, who was like 3 or 4 years old at the time. It's before Justin Simmons even had kids. And he was a rookie or second year guy. And I just remember saying, "Go Boston College" at the end. And it was just me standing there with my little girl on my shoulders. And Justin ran from all the way across the field just to sign her hat. And it's like her
Wow.
favorite hat in the world. And that's just the kind of guy Justin is. And yes, Justin Simmons will be signing autographs. Not that I'm trying to plug it for him at Broncos training camp, but that's just, man, the kind of guy Justin is. It's the offseason and he's doing work with Denver Fire and USAA. You know what kind of a leader and a man he is in the community here in Denver. You also talked to him about that. And I got to tell you, man, it was really cool for me to see his face light up when you told him, you know, how much he means to the city of Denver. He genuinely appreciated that. It wasn't just talking in cliches. He even said it. He's like, "I thank you very much for saying that." And I believe it, man. Justin's a good dude. And when you have good dudes on this football team and they're excited about the head coach, buckle up, Buttercup, because I think it's going to be a new Justin Simmons you see in 2023. New and improved, even better than he already was.
Yeah, and it's his time to actually get to the playoffs this year, right? Like he's been, you know, in the NFL long enough. He deserves to get into the playoffs this year, right? Because he's been kind of toiling away like the rest of us when it comes to, you know, not having great teams out there on the field due to coaching and whatnot. So yeah, I hope this year it's playoffs for him, and you know he deserves it. It's good. You know, he's done so much for the community. He's a good guy, and just, you know, I mean, I'm still like kind of thinking like, you know, he took the time to talk with me, and I'm like, I'm not on ESPN, you know, I'm, you know, it's like, it's just a cool moment, you know, for him to do that. So I really appreciated it.
And I don't know if you know, but I mean, I don't think even ESPN's on ESPN anymore. I was shocked they had the ESPYs with all the firing that they're doing around there. I'm like, damn,
Yeah, it's a
everybody just
bummer.
getting together to celebrate that everyone's still employed who's at the ESPY still, or are we waiting to can more people afterwards? And I've got a buddy who's trying to break into ESPN right now, and he works in media and former player. And good luck, man, because that's a cutthroat business. But like you said, man, Justin's a man of the people. He's a good dude. KB, just like another good dude. I got 10-pack of Nuggets tickets. You can roll with one. No, that'd be fun, man. I haven't been to a Nuggets game since I was a kid. So I have no idea what it looks like now with a championship team. And I often think about that, right? The championship expectations in this city. It's hard to ignore, especially when you're bumping around a Mile High City and you see Av stuff, Nugget stuff everywhere. People are starting to wonder, is it time to break out the orange? And yes, it is. I'm not saying that it's Super Bowl year 2023, but it is time for football, damn it. We are a couple weeks away from, you know, this being the last month of no football.
That's right.
Until training camp's going on, and then you roll into the preseason. Things are rocking and rolling by then. I mean, we're so close, Tom. We're practically on the doorstep. So while I can appreciate what the Nuggets have done, what the Avs have done, all eyes, I feel like, and all the pressure are solely on the Denver Broncos to succeed and win now.
And they need to hold up their end, right? You have the Avs that have won, and you have the Nuggets that have won. It's time for Broncos to get back into their winning ways. There's no other way to put it. It's been too long that they haven't won, and there's no excuses this year. There's no excuses.
None. Well, and you asked Justin about that yesterday. Again, check out Justin Simmons' interview. Stop by and had a chance to rap with Thomas, and I got to help a little bit, not really do much in the background, but we're still plugging it as an MHI thing. These are the types of things you guys can expect for the 2023 season. We've got a lot of cool things coming down the pipe. Zebulon coming in saying Justin Simmons signed a ball for me, and it was awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, some guy might read that and say, "Oh, whoop-de-doo, it's a Justin Simmons football. How many of those are out there on eBay?" You know what? I'm sure there are a million out there on eBay, and that proves my point because Justin takes the time to sign those things, man. He's not one of these guys that charges for autographs. And yes, there are players, I have seen it a lot, where they charge for these things. And I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, every man has his price, I guess. And that's somewhere you got to go personally. But I can promise you that the Broncos will be made available. It's something that they've always done. It's been a tradition. God rest his soul. Mr. Pat Bowlen has put into this franchise, and the players get it. And I think the Walton Penner ownership group have adopted that same vision, in which they want the team to be accessible to the fan base. And where else can you get access to players at training camp, Tom. I mean, you were there with me last year. You see it. I mean, these guys, you can reach out and touch them. Don't do it. But I mean, like you're right there, and there are funny stories, right? I've talked to Orlando Franklin about it. You can hear Derek Wolfe on the radio talk about funny stories. I mean, stuff like that happens, but bring your kids, man. I mean, make it a special moment and have fun. It's the summer, baby. Summer and football go together, damn it. And I'm tired of pretending they don't.
Well, and you should hang on to that autograph, man, because when Simmons is done, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be we're going to be talking about him in the same kind of breath as Atwater and Smith and those others. I mean, he's already ascended to a fairly high spot in the order of rankings of safeties already, in my opinion.
I like it.
Yeah, I was doing a top 100 series, Broncos of all time. He's on it. So, he's going to be, stay healthy, keep those fingers crossed. He's going to be,
I remember, hell yeah. He's going to be an Iron Man. He's been an Iron Man for the most part,
Absolutely.
of his career. I remember when he was drafted out of Boston College, I was thrilled. Now, I was concerned because he was a string bean. And he came in and he put on some weight and he looks, he looks good. He looked great yesterday on camera. Not, to go all fanboy, but I'm like, dude, you've been working, you've been eating, you've been lifting. I can see you. You look good, man. And you look like you're ready to go out there and play some of the best football of your life. And you asked him point blank, what's it been like enduring these frustrations with the fans? And Justin came out and was completely honest. He didn't try to hide from it. He didn't try to shoo it away. He said, not to give you a cliche answer, but that's in the past. I'm living in 2023, not in 2022. And I can see some fans rolling their eyes at that, but I believe him when he says it. There are a lot of phonies in this world. I'm here to tell you Justin Simmons isn't one of them. He speaks his mind. And go back to some of those Vic Fangio days where Justin's not that happy. Go back to last year. You could listen to some of those interviews or before he got his contract done. Justin's very honest. He's smart. He's tactful with what he says, and he's a businessman. But I believe him, man. He's living in the moment now. I think the expectations over there are to win, and these guys finally get it. And it starts with Sean Payton. There has to be law and order, and that's something Sean Payton talked about in his very first press conference, which is why Broncos country is buzzing. The original Dizzy D is buzzing. $2 super. Playoffs bound. Mark my words. Hashtag Mile High Soldier Style. I like that, dude. The Mile High Soldier Style. Damn, we have the Wednesday boys, or what was it? The Wednesday Hump Boy, something like that.
Wednesday,
and then we have Dizzy
guys.
D.
Wednesday guys.
Yeah, something. Then we got original Dizzy D coming in here too, man. We've got t-shirt. You guys got to start a t-shirt company here on MHI because some of these guys are just coming in there hot. Playoff bound, dude. That's the expectation from Broncos country, Thomas. I mean, thank God. Like, finally, I get that we've been saying, oh, this is our year times 6 over and over again. But when you finally get a Sean Payton, things change. What do I mean by that? Ask yourself this, and I'll ask you, Broncos country. We're opening it up to the chat line here. And Thomas, I would love to hear your answer. Who has more power on a football team, the quarterback or the coach?
In game, I'm going quarterback, but coach has got all of the power, and I'm not even going to say power, right?
Authority.
A good leader, a good coach, and a good leader can't. And I've said this before on this very show. What makes a good head coach is to be able to take your strategy, the strategy that you want, and have everybody, all walks of life, old people, as older coaches, young players from all over, and bring that strategy to fruition on the field. Right. That's what makes, if you got to say power, right? That's what makes the coach the most powerful person, because it's his he's collecting the strategy from everyone, but he's making it happen on the field based on how he goes about his business, his leadership style, how he coaches, how he educates. That's why he has the most power on the field. But, quarterback's a pretty important position as well.
I didn't ask what's important. I asked which position should have the most power. And there is one answer, and that's head coach. Why? Because a quarterback is replaceable. Yes, a head coach is too, but it's the head coach's decision on that quarterback. It's the front office's job on the head coach. And you got to find the money and find the dollars. And there's no question who's running that ship right now. People aren't asking, oh, is it Sean or is it George Payton? We pretty much know. I mean, anyone who doesn't know is a dummy, or they've been living under a rock. the Walton Penner ownership group all but castrated George Payton, sitting there after Nathaniel Hackett was fired at the end of the year, when George had to answer questions, or
Right.
not George, Mr. Penner had to answer questions about George getting fired potentially while George is sitting right there. It was one of the most savage things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was great. It was warranted. And I like George Payton. I'm a George Payton guy. There's some people out there should have fired George Payton, should have fired George Payton. I'm not one of them. I still want to see George. Now his time's running up. I mean, it's not year 2 anymore. It's not the first 6 months anymore. Time is running up, but I want to see what George can do. The head coach absolutely runs this football team. No ifs, ands, or buts. And if you were to ask every player last year, who runs the team, Russell Wilson or Nathaniel Hackett, most of them are going to say Russell Wilson. If you came back and you asked players on that same team this year, who runs the team, Russell Wilson or Sean Payton, they'd probably laugh if there was even another option besides Sean Payton.
Absolutely. I'm going to grab Phil's comment here real quick because he came in with Facebook stars. Been waiting a while, so just want to grab it, saying, "Good evening, Thomas and Luke. Visiting family in Denver, getting away from the Tucson heat."
Hell yeah.
Anyway, just want to say hello, Buckham, Mile High Huddle for life. And thank you, Phil, for the Facebook stars. We always appreciate it here and all the support you can give. But, we appreciate you as a Broncos fan as well. So thank you very much.
And leave that up for just a sec. How dare you, Phil, take a shot at me like that? See, he's saying I had to take a break from the Tucson heat out here in the Mile High City where it's been like the 90 degrees. I'm out here dying, and Phil's out here coming out here vacationing from that. Yeah, you guys in Arizona, man, you guys are a whole new breed. I don't know how you do it, Phil. Hopefully you were doing well, and enjoy your travels here, man. The weather's opened up. It's been a weird year here in Denver, man. Super wet spring, a super wet early part of summer, and now it feels like summer's really hitting. I mean, this dry heat, that's where it's at. I don't need to tell Phil or Michael or anybody else in Arizona about dry heat. But here we are, MHI Wednesday night. We're reacting to Justin Simmons' interview. Facebook user, am I still
I just wanted to throw that up there to say, yes, you still are a Facebook user. So I'm not really sure who you are, so I apologize. But yes, you are coming up as a Facebook user. But I just want to go back to one thing and kind of get into this next step, Luke. And when you were talking about who has all the control, and obviously Sean Payton went out, he has the control, obviously, but he went out and got Vance Joseph, which, that took a lot of guts to go out and bring back the head coach who failed in Denver, right? But he did it anyway. He went out and did it anyway. So he, you can tell that his mark is on this team, and he's kind of in control. So, and a lot of people, fans included, and myself, have a little hesitancy before jumping on the Vance Joseph for defensive coordinator bandwagon, really, because he did kind of he looked lost as a head coach, and there's no doubt about it. But as a defensive coordinator, he's probably going to be a lot better. But I just wanted to say, talk about what Justin Simmons said about that, which is going to be out on an article here pretty quick. But I asked him, what gives him confidence in the 2023 defense with Vance Joseph, and this is what he said. He said I think his knowledge he's been doing this for so long that he knows the ins and outs of what works and what doesn't work and what works for him. And I found that was very important. What works for him? Like, he's got his own style now, kind of, putting that into the team. And he says, I think he adjusts really well. He adjusts really well to the players around him and how to utilize their skills. And he wants to say, I know that from before, but he's getting Justin Simmons says he's getting a different feel and really seeing a different version of Vance Joseph as a defensive coordinator and being a little bit more hands-on. And it's been great having him back, he says. And he ended it with saying, I was always a big VJ fan, and I'm so excited to get to work with him again. Now, I some of those things that I've doubted about Vance Joseph, right? That, maybe he doesn't have what it takes to kind of take that next step, but he's from what he said, it seems like he's learning a little bit about himself and learning to be a better head coach, right? Or a better coach, really, not a head coach, but a better coach in general. He has the more opportunity to be hands-on. He's probably going to learn a little from Sean Payton. So, what Justin Simmons said to me made me feel a little bit better, especially the part about how he thinks that he puts them in the right position to succeed. And that's the doubt I had with the first stint of head coaches. I didn't think he did that. So if he can do that with the defense, then that's going to be, a big benefit for him going forward with this team.
It's exciting, but it makes me, if I'm going to be completely honest, cautious because Justin Simmons is such a great dude. It's also the reason that makes me cautious because why else would I mean, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, Tom, you have every single bit of a reason to be worried about Vance Joseph. Shit, we're all just sitting here waiting to see if he can do it too. That's not going to be the case. At the same time, Justin's very honest. I mean, they know each other. They've done this song and dance before, and let's be honest, Vance Joseph is his specialty is geared towards the secondary. I mean, that's been his come up and kind of his calling card, if you will, in the NFL. Now, I get that there's pressure on Vance Joseph, but I ask, how much is there really pressure on Vance Joseph? Yeah, he's coaching for his career, but what coach isn't? All the pressure's on Sean Payton because I like what you said. It takes guts to bring Vance Joseph back here. I mean, that's putting it lightly. I mean, it takes what to get Vance Joseph back here because I mean, how do you sell that to a fan base? Well, Sean Payton doesn't have to sell anything to anybody. I mean, he made that abundantly clear when he had all the NFL teams last offseason flying all over the place interviewing him. Oh, I'll go with this team, but not that team. And well, this day works for me. And too bad if it doesn't work for you. I mean, Sean Payton marches to the beat of his own drum. And I love it. And that's either going to be his biggest strength or his greatest weakness. And Jerron Washington weighing in on Justin Simmons' comments regarding defensive coordinator Vance Joseph with Thomas yesterday. Jerron saying Vance Joseph will make us a top 5 defense again, since we already had the top 5 defense last season. So Jerron recognizes what we all recognize. Vance Joseph, while he's walking into a defense that has immediate areas of concern, edge, pass rusher, he also has some gems. You have the best cornerback in the league. You've got a top 5 safety in the league. You've got a linebacking duo that the Bash brothers that are going to be firing on all cylinders, you hope. You've got some decent depth in your secondary. You've got Kareem Jackson coming back as a team captain, a team leader. I mean, there are a ton of positives to get after if you're Vance Joseph, who, by the way, said he chose this job over Philly. And I believe him. And that takes guts too for Vance Joseph. So if there's one thing I respect, it's someone admitting that they're wrong and asking for help. Vance Joseph, he ate all that criticism. He ate all of it. And he came back and he smiled and said, I'm ready for more. And I respect the hell out of the man for doing that. And I tip my cap to him. And I'm in, man. I mean, I want to see it, but you're not going to see me ragging on VJ unless he gives me a good reason to, well, I mean, that's low hanging fruit.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I don't think for Vance Joseph to be successful, and I think I've said this before, he doesn't have to coach them to a top 5 defense. If they did, that would be great. Obviously, what the difference between what I want to see from last year to this year, number one, more takeaways. That we already talked about that. But what I said from the beginning was what we're going to see at training camp. Are they still out there getting quality reps when they're tired? Because that's going to mean that when they need to make a play, when that defense needs to come up and make a play when it matters to win the game, they're going to do it. And that's what Vance Joseph, that's what I'm going to look at to make as a success, right? If they're top, 15, if they're 10 to 15, but they do that on a regular basis and they pull out wins, that is a successful season for Vance Joseph. Not statistics, not, hey, we held our opponents to the lowest yards of the, anybody else.
Yeah, no one cares about that.
Game. Right. Yeah, no. When it matters most, can they make a play? Can he set up a defense and put those players in the right position to make that play when it matters so they can win that game? Because that's what is most important, is coming out with a victory. I don't care how many stats that, they acquire. If they can't come up with that victory, then it's meaningless. And that's where I'm going to watch for Vance Joseph. Did he improve enough to do that? Then I'm going to consider it a success.
100%. And, I don't know if you saw Pat Shurmur made his way to see you. Did you see that? Man, like they say a cat has 9 lives and always lands on his feet, and I'll be damned, they are right. I mean, Vance Joseph is back with the Broncos. Pat Shurmur is employed in the game of football. This Denver, baby. This is Colorado, I
Yeah.
guess. It's weird though, and I joke, I'm a little facetious, but you see not the recycle, not the retread trend, but I mean, you see some familiar names come and go in the NFL. It's
Yeah.
if you're not winning, you get canned, and it's not that you don't know anything. You do have knowledge, and you do have other things to offer, and that's why guys and gals get other opportunities, not only in the NFL but in life. And I wanted to get to Gatorade gaming here. Waterboy is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I absolutely love it. I hope that's what it's referencing. And Gatorade coming in saying VJ could be the scapegoat if things go wrong. And I couldn't disagree more, Gatorade. And that's because Sean Payton is not one of those guys that rolls over on his dudes. Sean Payton is one of the boys. Sean Payton, if he does have a code, it's the bro code. Sean Payton knows bro code, and Sean Payton doesn't break bro code. He might break other rules. He might break other codes and step on some toes. And if people don't like it, well, that's just too damn bad. But say what you want about him. I don't see Sean Payton rolling over on Vance Joseph. Now, I could see some people in the media doing it 100%. The spin doctors, sure. Absolutely. Because, they didn't even want Sean Payton here. And now they're all on the take with, Sean Payton's the greatest thing ever. And, go back, look on Twitter. They even had a few dust up Sean Payton and the spin doctors there. But no, man, it's a new day in Broncos country. And I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, and I don't think if he fails, if the defense is a failure, then he's not really a scapegoat. It's going to be kind of what everybody, that doubted and, where you can, hang their hat on. And so he's going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator, because the point is they've got to turn this ship around. And if Vance Joseph can't make that happen from his side of the ball, then, he's not a scapegoat. He's just going to get fired. Now, if he coached really well, and the defense is, a very solid defense, I don't think you're going to see him getting canned just because they didn't have a great season. So, and you got to look at Sean Payton. I mean, he carried a lot of those same coaches with him through his entire career, that they went off to have other opportunities sometimes, but it was rare that he just kind of like rolled over on them and said, yeah, you're out of here. He kept them around for a long time. I mean, and brought them back after they had their stint as a head coach or a coach somewhere else, and came back, and he brought them back. And, so I'm kind of with you. Look, I don't think he's going to try to scapegoat Vance Joseph, but Vance Joseph got to perform. If he doesn't perform, then I can see Sean Payton saying, well, sorry, you didn't cut it.
They're both going to be in hot water then, right? Because I mean, like at a certain point, how often is it Vance Joseph's fault? I mean,
right.
Vance didn't hire himself to come back here. So if things are going bad to that same point, then you got to look at the guy that brought him in, which would be my guy, your guy, Sean Payton. He is the Denver Broncos head coach. We think things are going to be different this year. Why? Because they've already changed a little bit. And Keith, our guy, coming in here real quick with a good question. If there's a joker on defense, would it be rookie linebacker Drew Sanders? And for those of you that don't know, the term joker is a Sean Payton term that he absolutely loves. Just a football term, scouting term. It really doesn't apply that much other than a mismatch. And a few weeks ago, Sean Payton came out and was talking about how he thinks Greg Dulcich has tendencies of a joker type player. Think of like a Taysom Hill. Think of an athlete in just that specialty type of role. That's what these guys are looking for specifically on offense under Sean Payton. Now, if you look at that on a defensive role, that's a little bit weird, man. A linebacker, I could see why Keith is going there, because Drew Sanders has the potential to play edge as well. I think if he's healthy, I'm going to say Baron Browning, because that's the original, linebacker to edge right there. I mean, I loved Baron Browning so damn much at linebacker. I was the only one in town throwing an absolute fit on this podcast when they moved him to edge, because Ohio State screwed with him for 4 years over there. And it was one of the big reasons Baron Browning fell in the draft. But to Keith's point, I mean, that athletic mismatch is something that you want. And if Drew Sanders is a potential joker of the defense, hot damn, you got yourself something.
I'm with you there on Baron Browning. I was the first one to be like, maybe not the first one, but like, don't move him. Keep him where he was successful.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, and I'm with Keith a little bit here. I don't want to jump on the Drew Sanders bandwagon too much, kind of be like, oh yeah, he's going to be a superstar. Remember, he's a rookie. It's going to take him some time to get acclimated to the NFL, but the sentiment is correct. He has the versatility to be lined up in spots where there's maybe a mismatch. They can create packages for him at inside linebacker or at edge to kind of create some mismatches. But yeah, I like the Baron Browning thing, but the other person the other rookie who could develop into a little bit of a movable piece in my mind is Riley Moss. They've talked about him being able to play safety. They've talked about him he's a cornerback. He can hit, man. He can fly around and hit.
He's a dog.
They might drop him down into the box once in a while just for fun to see how he does. So there's some promise on these young guys, but I don't want to anoint them right off as the the next big thing until I see it on an NFL field.
Riley Moss is a great one, man. I mean, he's a Swiss Army knife right now of talent, and that Swiss Army knife has been missing. And what do I mean by that? I mean a guy that's willing to do it all. I mean, Justin Simmons talked about PJ Locke yesterday and what he brings to the special teams. And you can read all about that in Thomas's latest article up at milehighhuddle.com. Head on over to Tom's Twitter, also at Thomas Hall NFL. You can find that interview and the article up, and one more article to go. It's always awesome to see Justin Simmons and some of the guys you're able to pull, and it's cool, man, to have it here on these airwaves. But mismatch, that's the term, the name of the game here in the NFL, and that Joker term, I don't like it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a grumpy old man, but I'm like, who's the Joker player? I'm like, I don't give a rip who the Joker player, who's going to score a freaking point is where I'm at. I don't care if it's a fullback, if it's a running back. I mean, like, I do not give a rip. And that's the way this team better be, specifically the wide receivers, Tom, because I'm telling you right now, when you talk about Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, how many out of those four players, Broncos country and Tom, play special teams? I'll wait. That's
None.
A problem for this football team right now.
That's what I said to you last week, I think, or maybe it was on one of my other shows. I said the reason why I don't have a high hopes for KJ Hamler is because he's not going to move himself in the top three. So he's going to have to play special teams, which he really doesn't do. So where's he going to be around? So I'll tell you that they went out and got in the draft players who can develop, but with an eye for special teams right away. Drew Sanders, Riley Moss, JL Skinner, and Marvin Mims all are going to be able to contribute on special teams right away. And I think they can do it at a high level.
I think so too. And Cecil Lammy came on with us of 104.3 The Fan and said Marvin Mims is the best wide receiver in that room today. And I mean, I got goosebumps because Cecil doesn't just say that kind of stuff and hope it sticks. I mean, this is a cat. Yeah, I'm a little biased because this is a personal friend of mine, but I travel with him every year and have for half a decade now on these scouting trips. And we disagree and fight like cats and dogs on prospects all the time. But I believe him when he's saying he's seeing that work out there at the limited media availability. And I'll be able to be credentialed for a few days out there at camp, guys. So we'll see if I can behave until then and keep that promise. But no, we're going to be out there, MHI, Thomas and I, August 1st through August 4th. Come on out, say hello. I will also be out there every day at training camp. Bring the sunscreen, bring the water, bring a Sharpie for players to start signing. And just a few quick things on the way out. We got about 4 minutes left in the show. Wanted to get your take. I'm sure you saw the Jets have been forced to get on HBO Hard Knocks. Two questions, two-parter for you, Thomas. One, do you care? No. One, do you watch Hard Knocks? And two, what do you think the Jets being on Hard Knocks in 2023 is going to bring to an audience or the NFL community?
Yeah, I don't watch Hard Knocks. I never have. It doesn't appeal to me.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really care for reality shows, so I don't really watch that. To me, that's a reality show, even though it's football. I'd rather watch, something a little more entertaining. But the funniest thing I saw on Twitter was, they did a meme of what Zach Wilson's going to be like, and it's American Pie with Stifler's mom and guy.
Man.
I couldn't help myself. I kind of cracked up about it, but I think it's going to be. I don't know. I love the coach. I think the head coach there is a solid
Robert Saleh
leader. Yeah, I think he's a solid leader. So I don't think it's going to be a lot of kind of craziness. But anytime you got Aaron Rodgers coming in, and he's an odd dude. I mean, that's all I could say. He says a lot of odd things, and so there's going to be some fun for sure. But Yeah, I'm glad it's not the Broncos. I don't want that distraction, man. I just don't want it.
No. Well, and you've got to have all these new, like, you got eligibility rights, to be on
Yeah,
this show. And the Broncos have passed up being on Hard Knocks
sure.
multiple times. Why? Because they have new head coaches flying in and out of here like crazy, just like quarterbacks. But no, man, I think it's interesting that it's like forced on them. You said it best. It is reality TV, but I don't watch it anymore either. I used to, but then it just seemed to get like, I don't know, bad teams I don't ever want to watch. I mean, it's always a bad team. It's never like a winning team. You're not going to get inside the Chiefs locker room and learn how Andy Reid runs training camp. That's not going to work. It's not part of the eligibility. But I will say this. I'm going to check out that new QB series on Netflix, because not only did I see the preview in which Peyton Manning, his voice in Omaha Productions gave me goosebumps, but I saw a clip today of Pat Mahomes and Max Crosby like going at it, face mask to face mask, and it
Oh,
was part of the special. And I was like, man, I hate Pat Mahomes. He's such a good quarterback, and I know I'm going to watch this and probably enjoy it. But I do think things are going to be different this year, and I think you're going to see a competitive football team.
yeah.
And guys, that's going to start to wrap up our show. Again, Justin Simmons sat down with Thomas yesterday, and you can read all about that and what Justin had to say over at milehighhuddle.com. You can also get at Tom's Twitter, at Thomas Hall NFL. There's a YouTube video up there as well. I imagine even if you type Justin Simmons Mile High Huddle, it's going to pop right up in YouTube, and you're going to get that interview from yesterday. And again, guys, we're going to be out there August 1st through August 4th at training camp. Come say hello. Yours truly will be out there every day in the sun. We're super excited to meet everybody. Getting messages from folks every day saying, I'm coming out on this date. I'm coming out on that date. So I'm super excited to meet some folks and get to watch some good football, man.
Yeah, and before we go, I just want to say, keep your fingers crossed, Broncos country. We got 4 Hall of Fame nominees, made it to the semifinals for senior and contributor. A big surprise for me, Alex Gibbs making it. I didn't he deserves that. I mean, he's an innovator, but I didn't think he'd make it. But it's got to be Randy Gradishar's year this year. It has to be. If he gets snubbed again, I don't know. I think we got to get the pitchforks and the torches out and head to Canton, because that's a travesty right there. But yeah, keep your fingers crossed for those 4 guys, because they all really kind of have a deserving resume if you look at it critically. So yeah, shout out to them. And yeah. Well, I can't wait for training camp, and I'll shoot the breeze. If you want to talk about Hall of Fame, you want to talk about anything, just let me know.
Yeah, Broncos in the Hall of Fame. Do not hold your breath, Tom, because the Broncos get screwed, as you know, all the time with the Hall of Fame. They make me mad. I mean, I think the voters make about as much sense as the government does. I scratch my head so much, trying to figure out what they do and why they do it. But I hope you're right, man. And huge plug to Randy Gradishar, one of the GOATs. I mean,
Yeah.
held out because a stat wasn't invented even before.
Yep.
He was doing it before the stat was even invented with sacks. That's why he's held out, and because he's the Denver Bronco. Broncos are wronged all the time in the Hall, and don't get me started on that. That would happen for another hour. But you can get all sorts of that information, some really good stories, and training camp previews on Friday morning with Tom on Legends of Mile High. Then, if you didn't get enough of Tom 2 days of the week, you get him on Saturday night, baby. Him and Ron White, Orange and Blue View, rocking and rolling at 6 p.m. Mountain. And that's going to do it for us. We're going to be back on the airwaves next Wednesday at 6 p.m. I imagine the Huddle Up Boys will be back tomorrow. I see some musical chairs right now with Summer and guys coming in and out. I think Lance did the show with Ron last week or 2 weeks ago, and then I saw Lance on Building the Broncos last night. So you never know who's going to show up on these airwaves. Stay tuned and locked on to Mile High Huddle at milehighhuddle.com. On Twitter, that's at Mile High Huddle. If you'd like to follow Tom, that's at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Do us a huge favor and follow the pod as well at MHI_pod. Thomas and I both realize social media is something we know nothing about, so we are actively trying to improve on that. And if you could give us a follow on the pod, that would really help. And let us know how we're doing wherever you get these podcasts. Give us a review. Be brutally honest. Tell us how much this show means to you, because it means a lot to us. And
Sure.
We really appreciate you guys rocking with us. And Broncos country, sit tight. Training camp right around the corner, baby. This is the way.
This is the way.